안녕하세요, konnichiwa, 大家好, welcome to Earth of Spurs. And today we are going to preview Tottenham versus West Ham. Always an insanely, let's say, entertaining, shall we, match. And joining me today is my good friend and West Ham supporter, Josh. Welcome, Josh.
Hello, mate. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, mate, it's an absolute pleasure. Now, we're going to talk about many different things. And the first thing we're going to talk about, which I don't know if you agree or if you see it, it was just something that I was thinking when I was thinking about the things to talk about. I feel like Spurs and West Ham is a different kind of hatred to,
Yeah.
let's say, Spurs and Arsenal, Spurs and Chelsea. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Am I imagining it, or what do you think?
No, I totally understand. And from a West Ham fan's point of view, for me, it's like there's the geographical side of it, and then
Yeah,
there's also my personal side of it with Spurs. So geographically, we're both London clubs. West Ham and Spurs aren't too far apart, like
yeah,
geographically.
okay,
And I think historically, obviously they're both London clubs, and historically, I know Spurs in the last kind of 15, 20 years have kind of taken it up a notch. But historically, West Ham and Spurs have always been kind of around about the same kind of place, around about the same kind of place in the table. So I feel like because our main rivals, you could say, are Millwall,
yeah,
they're never in the division.
yeah.
They're usually in the second or third division. Our closest rival is probably Spurs, so that's why we have our cup final is Spurs. So yeah,
That's what.
and for
Okay,
me, yeah,
good answer. I
yeah,
thought that is what it is. I think it's that you guys have this cup final mentality, and you hate us so much that we respond to it. But obviously, a lot of the time, especially in recent years, not good enough. Um, yeah, I would say that is what it is. Especially Millwall does. I'm not saying I would like them to be in the Premier League. I don't know if that would be a good thing. I
I
used to
would
go watch
six
Millwall.
easy points.
Yeah, well, that would be very entertaining. But I used to go watch
Yeah,
Millwall, so I can say like I don't know if they're ready for the
mm,
world to be watching them. They have a few
yeah,
problems they need to fix. But um,
yeah,
yeah, I definitely think that this whole cup final mentality thing is definitely what makes this match. So I feel like
yeah,
as well you could say we were a bit what's the word? We were a bit like, oh, we're better than you, but then it's like we haven't won anything, so it's like, are we better than you? Only maybe on
yeah,
paper, but not like
yeah,
we're not. We are growing as a club. We're getting bigger,
yeah.
but as you said, we're still
Yeah.
there's still
I sup-
many similarities, and we
yeah.
definitely are starting to hate you more and more, especially you know beating us in crucial moments.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as well as a West Ham fan, I'm not afraid to say that I do look at Spurs with a little bit of envy,
Yeah,
because um, this position that Spurs are in, that amazing new stadium that they've got is probably the best stadium in the world for the last 10, 12 years, however long it is since Redknapp first got you guys into the Champions League. You've
right.
been regularly playing in the Champions League, regularly finishing top four. Yes, you haven't won, and everyone's quick to kind of look. I'm, I don't. My brothers are both Spurs fans. I grew up being taunted like all the time by Spurs, so I don't have any love. There's no love lost whatsoever for Spurs for me, but I have to kind of look at it and how far the club has come in the last 15 years from kind of I feel like they were a little bit mid-table to kind of where they are now. I know you maybe finished runner up once or twice, and
Mm.
you got to the Champions League final. You've had some incredible players: Bale, Kane, Van der Vaart, Alderweireld. I really like
Modric.
Lloris, Modric. Yeah, like just you've had some great players. So um, they have kind of in the last 15 years. I definitely feel the club is like wait, and I think that I know we will probably get into it as the video goes on, but I don't think you're too far away from winning a trophy. I don't think it, as much as it pains me to say it, I don't think you're too far away from winning a trophy.
Well, it pains me to say that I have that mentality every single year for the last God knows how many years. Probably since I started supporting them, because I thought, like, you know, like we can at least win another League Cup or an FA Cup, which we have a good history in. But literally every year it's just like it crumbles. It literally crumbles, and it's always like, oh, next year surely, but it just doesn't happen.
It's like watching
And
England. It's like the same with
yeah, oh
England.
mate, it is like watching England. That's why, like, in the World Cup, I'm just so well versed in, you know, how to deal with my emotions and whatnot. Okay, I say that, but remember that time when we were in Shanghai 2018? That really hurt.
Incredible. It's
We were
incredible time.
dreaming. But well, that's when we met. So yeah,
it is when we met. Yeah, many moons ago.
That was great. Let's talk about the next thing, the owners. Now, I would say our owners are more famous, probably for the wrong reasons. You know, everybody knows that Daniel Levy is very stingy and does not like to spend money. And our actual owner is in the Bahamas. You know, Mr. Lewis. He's just you know,
Joe
in the
Lewis.
Bahamas. He's not. Yeah, he's not even.
There's things at the moment. There's things at the moment coming out about you guys maybe being bought, isn't there? Being sold.
There is, by the Iranian American guy, but then I saw a response by the owners of Spurs, and they were just like, "Yeah, we're not interested in selling." I'm like, "Well, I thought you were," but yeah, it's just like conflicting reports. I would love for them to sell the club to somebody who actually wants to buy players, and you know, like so many times I've seen not just Conte, but Pochettino, when we went to the Champions League final that season, we did not get any new players in both transfer windows. And it was just like really painful to see that. And Mourinho, you know, Conte, it's not that they haven't been backed, because afterwards they did buy new players, but it's not the players that they specifically wanted. And yet again, in this transfer window, Conte says, I want a centre back, and we get a right back. And, you know, it's been like that many times. I can't complain about everything, because I do rate this stadium and the project and the vision to try to make it a multi-sports event just to bring in extra money. But then it's like, you're not spending that extra money on us, like, you know. Or I guess he is, but you know, we do have a world-class training ground as well. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about the West Ham owners. Obviously, one of them passed away recently. Can you tell us a bit about
rest in peace.
how's that affected?
I can. I just, sorry, Gabriel. I just wanted to speak a little bit about Spurs owners, because it's always one of those things with your owners. Everyone kind of looks inside. Everyone kind of looks in, but doesn't really. People that don't support the club don't really get it like the supporters get it. So as West Ham fans, we've got quite a lot of grievances with our owners to do with the stadium, and also with money being spent and whatnot. And I listen to TalkSport all the time, and the pundits are the pundits on TalkSport, Martin Keown and people like that, they don't really get it, and they kind of just, West Ham fans call up and they just shoot them down, and they don't really know the club very well, and they just so as a West Ham fan looking at Spurs, from an outsider's point of view, it seems like, and again, you'll know more than me because you're a Spurs fan, but it seems like, I just saw that you released your profits and like you made a lot of money. Like, I think it was this year or last year, you made a lot of money. So like that's a good thing. But like you say, they haven't reinvested it in the playing squad. The stadium's incredible. But the thing is with Spurs fans, I think, is they want to win something and they want to see more ambition from the owners. So all the while they're not spending like the money that the other clubs are kind of spending, they're not going to have as good a chance to win something. But I think some of the money that they have spent hasn't, you know, some of the big money transfers over the years haven't necessarily Done amazing. Like Ndombele, he didn't.
Yeah.
Is he still? Is he on loan, or did you sell him?
I believe he's on loan to Napoli.
Yeah, so he was a lot of money, and that didn't really come off, did it? And then I know this is going back a long time, but with all the Bale money, you sold Bale, and then you kind of spent a lot of the money in it, and it kind of that can happen quite a lot. That can happen a lot of times, with with players that come in. It's always a bit of a gamble. So yeah, I do see, because we've got problems with our owners. I do see when other clubs, I do sympathise with sometimes with clubs with their owners, because sometimes they don't put their money where their mouth is. But with our owners, yeah, David Gold passed away, unfortunately, about a month ago, which is sad. He was
Lifelong West Ham fan.
he was a good guy. Yeah, he was a lifelong West Ham fan. But I think with our owners, what tends to happen is that when everything's going well, so we've just gone well for the part. We've just been flying for the last 2 years. Finished seventh in the league. Got to everyone knows, got to a Europa League semi-final. Had some amazing results. Beat Lyon away. It was unbelievable. We beat Liverpool at home. Beat you guys at home. I was there last year for that. We beat Chelsea at home. We had an incredible season. We just kind of tailed off in January, because from January onwards in the league, maybe we got distracted by the Europa League run, and that we didn't strengthen in January, which I feel if we could have, then maybe if we did, then we could have gone on and maybe won the Europa League. Because I think Frankfurt, it's a frustrating thing. Maybe we'll get into that later, but I feel like we beat two better teams in Lyon and Seville, and we got knocked out. But so with our owners, sorry mate, I'm drifting off here. With our owners,
yeah,
I feel when things aren't going well, then fingers get pointed at the owners, and people do seem to have problems with the stadium still. If you have a match day at Upton Park and you have a match day at the London Stadium, as a West Ham fan, that if you know the club well, that London Stadium doesn't have the same kind of intimidating atmosphere that Upton Park did. You just can't replace it. And what it is is a lot of West Ham fans, especially the old school West Ham fans, they can't get over that's gone. And the new stadium is they don't see that as West Ham. They change the badge, they change the stadium. A lot of people are getting used to it, but a lot of the old West Ham fans, they just can't accept, and they hold that anger towards the owners because of the stadium move.
Basically. I mean, why was it such a need to leave Upton Park?
Well, they'll say it was money. They'll say that to go on to the next level, you need a bigger stadium that can generate more revenue. And I think everyone knows we've got a good deal with the taxpayer for the stadium. So the club rents the stadium. I think it's for like $2 million a year, but we don't actually own the stadium. So all the modifications that need to be made, I don't think it's possible at the moment to do it. When we get the mickey taken out of us all the time by away fans because of how far away and it is in some parts. Like, I don't know if you've been, but in some parts, like, it's really far away from the pitch, and it's
you can see that on TV though.
Yeah, and things like that. So they'll say it was money, and modifications do need to be made to the stadium for it to become a football stadium, because it's not a football stadium. And if we go into that whole thing, it should have been, because the athletics guys after the Olympics, they said, no, we want to keep it for athletics, and they thought they could, but then they couldn't. And then they've kind of tried to modify it to a football stadium, and it can't. So money, I'd say, mate, is the reason why they moved this. They'll say it's because of money.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know if you remember, but we were also heavily linked to moving there as well. And there wasn't 1 second where I was like, yes, I want to go, because we always take the mick out of Arsenal for moving from, South London to where they are now. And what is the point of moving where, you can imagine we'll be closer to West Ham, or, we'll just be in East London, and it's just like, okay, much, we won't even have a North London derby anymore. Like there's no way I want to move from the actual Tottenham place. Like, it is nonsense that they were even considering it. And the fact that they were considering it so much showed me that, like, they were very interested and motivated by money. And I was like super annoyed. And
yeah.
yeah,
If I was a Spurs fan, like forget that we have the new stadium now, or you have the new stadium now. If I was a Spurs fan, the thought of moving from North London from Tottenham to Stratford to East London is unfathomable. You know, that wouldn't, no.
it's ridiculous.
Nope.
After being there for
Yeah.
literally our whole history, same
Yeah.
spot, like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just not good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let's move on from the owners, because otherwise we can literally make this whole video about the owners.
Yeah.
But let's move on to managers. Let's start with David Moyes. I calculated his games this morning for West Ham. He's got a win percentage of about 42%, which is pretty much like his whole career is around 41%. So he's got 42 with West Ham, which it's not bad, but
No.
you know, he did get you sixth and seventh.
Yeah, he did.
But
Yeah.
what do you think is missing from David Moyes, or what would you like to see more from David Moyes?
I think what I'd like to see more from David Moyes is I feel like he's very stubborn, and he's got his
Okay.
favourites. He's only just started taking Souček out the team, and Souček has been awful for a long time. I know he was the guy arriving in the box and scoring the goals, finishing and heading and stuff. He was great, but Moyes just kept him in the team, and his technical ability, his passing is absolutely awful, and Moyes just kept him in the team. We'll always, as West Ham fans, we'll always be grateful to David Moyes for what he did for us. I'm 30, and I've never seen us get in the group stage of a European competition, let alone get to a semi-final. So, and to finish sixth. Usually what happens with West Ham is we'll have one good season and then we'll have a really bad season. So we finished sixth and seventh, and it was really, really and then really good. And then we bought those players in the summer. Maybe we needed a big overhaul in the squad because a lot of players were out of contract and getting old. We bought a lot of players in, and that's a bit of a, when you bring a lot of players in at the same time, it can be a bit of a gamble because you're expecting them all to gel together, and we haven't had our luck. Well, yeah, that's for another conversation. They've taken time to gel together. So David Moyes, I think he probably will go at the end of the season. I don't think he'll be here next year, but if we stay up, and you know, and I'm still optimistic for us winning this Conference League. There's a couple of good teams in it, Lazio, Fiorentina, but I think we can win it. That would be amazing if we can. But
yeah, it would.
I think it's time for something fresh at the end of the season for next season. I think this season we can't going forward. We can't seem to score many goals. We've been much better at the back since Ward has come back in. Very, very good player. Very good player. But I think on the whole, it would be time for a change at the end of the season. I thought, to be honest, a couple of games ago, I thought he was gone. When we lost to, what was that game that we lost at home? I can't remember. Wolves. Everton? No, we lost to Wolves away.
Oh, Wolves.
We beat Everton. We lost to Wolves away. And
you lost to Wolves, yeah.
Yeah, we lost to Wolves, and it was like he's gone. He's gone. But the owners kept faith in him. Everyone else has kind of pulled the trigger and replaced their managers, but they've kept faith in him. So, to be honest, I like to see a change at the end of the season. I'm not because I'm not trigger happy. New manager. I respect what he's done, but I think we need something fresh. He doesn't seem to be able to know how to. David Moyes is very good at getting average players, Antonio, Cresswell, what other players in the team like that kind of level of player higher. But when he gets a kind of world-class player or with a big reputation like Paqueta, Scamacca, he kind of doesn't really know what to do with him. And I think they had that problem at Man United. So I think kind of maybe time for someone else with a few more ideas to come in and try and get the best out of those players.
Yeah. Okay. That is well said, because I do agree with your last point. Firstly, that he doesn't seem to be able to get the best out of the best players, but he can
No.
do well with, like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't want to say average players, because to play in Premier
Yeah.
League already you're very good, but um, he does do well with he can do well with an average squad. Um,
Yeah.
Even if, like, your best players are
Well, he
missing.
done with Everton for he
Yeah.
done with Everton for a long time. For a long
Yeah, man.
time.
Like,
Yeah.
it's sad that he left, because he was there for so long and he was doing well,
Yeah.
and then he
Yeah.
kind of ruined it. But that's life, and that's the risk you take
Yeah.
going to those big clubs. Um,
Yeah.
but let's also go to talk about the other side, which is Antonio Conte. Now, I don't even know if he's going to be at this match, because he had surgery recently, and
Yeah.
yeah, he kind of rushed back for the Champions League, but now he's going back
Yeah.
home to be with his family, so
Yeah.
he may or may not be there. But what do you think about the job that Antonio Conte has done so far?
Um. Well, I know there's quite a lot of Spurs fans from people I speak to and people that I hear calling into Talk Sport on the radio. They're not entirely happy with. But I don't watch it because of where I am and the games kickoff times and things like that. Is I don't watch too much football apart from West Ham. But from what I can make out, the Spurs style of play has been pretty boring under Conte this season, especially. And I think there's quite a lot of Spurs fans that aren't too happy with it. I think Son has changed his game. I think he's been sacrificed, kind of Conte with his defensive style, as kind of Son's attacking goals and assists haven't been anywhere near what they've been in the last 4 or 5 years. Kulusevski's also gone.
Yep,
When he first came in, he was goals, assists. That kind of
yep,
seems. I know he had an injury, but that kind of seems to have slowed down a bit. He hasn't
yeah,
really given Richarlison a fair crack of the whip yet. He hasn't given him. He hasn't played that much. So what I see with Conte is when he took over at Spurs, Spurs are always around that third, fourth, fifth, place in the league, around that,
yeah,
and they haven't. They're no higher. That you like. He's a winner. He's bought in to win things, right? He's same kind of thing as Mourinho. Conte is a winner, and they haven't really kicked on to higher than they were. So I think Spurs fans, from what I can make out, are getting a little bit tired of the football. And again, like with Moyes, even more so, I would be surprised if Conte was there next season. Very surprised if he was there next season.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
obviously his contract runs out, and then there's the option to extend it. But many people, uh, journalists, fans, many people think that um, the long rumor of Pochettino coming back one day, for his love of the club, it will happen when Conte is going to leave, and then Pochettino is going to come back. And
Mm.
to me, we've had Pochettino, Mourinho, Conte, like three very good managers, and
Mm-hmm.
they've just been backed in the wrong way. And if Conte stays or Pochettino comes back, whatever happens, it's down to the owners to properly back these managers and give them the players that they actually want for once. Because otherwise it's just going to be a vicious cycle. And
Mm.
and if we want to win a trophy, we need to have a squad. When we got to the Champions League final, we had actually a pretty good squad where, it was
Very.
quite rare for us. It was where we
Mm.
had two players for every position. Right back we had Kyle Walker and Trippier. Left back we had
Mm.
Ben Davies and Rose. We had a good
Mm.
squad.
Yeah.
And we haven't had that recently, I feel.
Mm.
And
So what I get from what you're sorry, Gabriel. What I get from what you're saying is that what I get from what you're saying is that maybe with those three winners, I know Pochettino hasn't. I know he won the league in France, I think, but he apart from that, Mourinho and Conte, who are winners, maybe it's not the manager that needs to change. Maybe it's the owner, the club that needs to change. Maybe, yeah.
I said this when
maybe
Mourinho. I said this when Mourinho was here because I was like, if he doesn't win something at Tottenham, the problem is not Mourinho. It's very clear now that the problem is at Tottenham. There's like it, it's not even necessarily a curse. There is something that you can change.
Yeah. So there is something that you can change. Maybe it is they need a bit more investment in the transfer market. I know. So what is it with? I think you're going to need another central midfielder because I think by all accounts one of your best players, your most creative players this season was Bentancur, and he's out for the season, isn't he? So that's huge for you guys. Really, really big loss that is for you. And I feel like the squad, I don't think too many are happy with Sessegnon. I don't think there's a lot of complaints from Spurs fans saying that he's not up to the level that's required. I'm just going off what I've heard, and I feel like yes, there needs some more investment in the team. Spurs definitely need a higher level of investment in the team, not Chelsea levels, but but more investment for sure.
So it's funny you mentioned Chelsea. I wrote it down because before I forget. There's only one thing that I can probably say that will back up someone like Daniel Levy, and that is my pen's weird. And that is that. Can you hear that? My neighbor's being so loud.
Yeah.
Be quiet. All right. That is that too many teams now and too many players. I would say the price that is quoted too often recently has been 100 million. And that worries me because it's like, oh, we're getting to the next stage now where, any decent player has to be 100 million.
Yeah.
Have you seen that recently?
Yeah. It's gone crazy, I think. I don't think the guy, I know he had a good World Cup, Enzo Fernandez. To pay 110, 115 million is just, he was at Benfica 6 months ago. I think they bought him for 10 million euros. And it's gone completely, it's been inflated. If he's worth 110 million, then Declan Rice, if that guy is been bought for 110 million, then we should be asking for 200 for Declan Rice because that is the money now. And what the problem that Chelsea are making is they're now inflating the entire market, like PSG did with the Neymar deal. They're making, no, you're right, 100 million should be for the best player in the world, like one of the best players in the world, not for. So yeah, I think it's only going to probably get worse. The spending is just going up and up. I just want to say what the guy said in the comments there. We need a proper defense. Yes, I think Romero's very good. He's a very good player, but he's quite hot-headed and he doesn't seem to have a good centre-back partner. I think Sanchez isn't great for you guys. So I think you need a defender. Who else do you have in and the other guy really hasn't done very well. Well, he's been a bit better this season, hasn't he? I think, but
he was more consistent last season. And like the thing about Eric Dyer is he plays one good game and he wins his place back in your heart, and then he plays like an atrocious game. So
I know the guy who came in Longley from Barcelona. He's meant to have been a Barcelona player, but he doesn't look. You can see why Barcelona.
To be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So sorry.
He hasn't been too bad coming in. I'm pretty sure the last time I saw him, he wasn't he wasn't good, but he has played some good matches, even Champions League. So it's hard to say. But let's have a look at our comments. Actually, we had a comment at the beginning. Harry reckons it will be a 0-0 draw. Now, you said to me before we started, Tottenham West Ham is a bit like Arsenal, right? Arsenal and Tottenham. It's not usually a 0-0 draw. But we'll talk about our predictions later. And we got a fan from Korea, Ellie, Tottenham. So as you asked, yeah, we do have fans from Korea. We have Lokman Yunus Sung Jin. Apologies if I said that wrong. He says, "Hi everyone, big hearts, big love. Levy out." So yeah, we do have a sizable part of our fan base that is Levy out, and I think even someone who isn't like officially Levy out, I'm very happy to even just like have a shirt that says Levy out. Like I'll be happy if he goes. I'll probably be more happy if he goes rather than if he stays, just because something needs to change. We need trophies. Like, we're tired of Daniel Sandoval from Norway. One love from Norway. So that's nice, from Norway. Daniel, if you're interested in being part of our fans around the world match previews, please get in touch with us on Instagram at Earth of Spurs. And yes, back to our friend Lokman Yunus. He says we need a proper defense. We spoke about that. And we have to get rid of Dyer, Davies, and Sanchez. So thanks for that. This was what I was going to say about when you mentioned the defense. These three players, we feel they're good. We can probably use them as subs or backup, but they're not good enough to be like take us to the next level. Romero, to be fair, this season he hasn't been good, and he's not the only one that hasn't been good. We already mentioned Kulusevski and Son, like really shadow of what they were last season, and that's the same with Romero. I saw Romero, like I watched every match, and I just saw the way he went in, and like players could not get past him, and the tackles he made were amazing. But we really do, we've been linked to players in Italy, Bastoni, players that Conte really wanted.
Oh yeah,
we no chance of having because of Levy, because maybe the money was too much, and he tried to like wind it down to ridiculous amounts, and it's just like not. But let's go to our.
It sounds like David Sullivan. Some of the stuff that he'd do.
I mean, West Ham have spent a bit of money sometimes, but definitely it's another thing about the inflation of the market with these 100 million pound players. Like, how are we meant to keep up if they're just spending ridiculous money for players that aren't even that unknown? It's like João Felix.
It's 100 million, but we have spent some money. That's the thing. If you look at the table over the last, I've looked at it a few times. We are quite high spenders in Europe compared to other teams, but we've just spent badly. We spent 100 million that summer where they really put their money where their mouth was. We bought in Yarmolenko, Felipe Anderson, Jack Wilshere. We could make a whole nother video on that. We bought in a lot of players that summer for a lot of money. And Diop, Fabianski, who's done well. They're drilling now. And then we bought Haller, 45 million or something like that. We paid 50 million for Paqueta, who he is getting better, Paqueta. Paqueta for 50 odd million. And the Anderson one, the Haller one, it's like it was a big waste of money. I think Haller is actually a very good player, but as you can see from the amount of goals that he scored at Ajax, but he scores goals everywhere he goes, apart from West Ham, which our striker curse is. I know Chelsea have one, but our striker curse is bad. We've signed 53 strikers under Golden Sullivan since 2009. 22 of them haven't even scored a goal. Which is just, that's all you need to know. Yeah, bad. Yeah.
The drill is still going. Like, here it's just like people people do things.
Construction site.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a construction site. But from one
Yeah.
Antonio Conte to another one, how do you think, like, Antonio was so good like 2 seasons ago, beginning of last season? What's happened to him?
What's happened to Antonio? Well, he was our only choice up front
One
for those
goal in
seasons.
9 games.
We Yeah, and it goes on for longer than that. Like, I think he's scored something like 4 in the last nearly almost 40 games. Like, he really has stopped scoring, but he does do a lot more than score. Well, he doesn't barely score anymore, but when he's on his beast mode days, when he's on his beast mode game, he's a handful. He really roughs defenders up. He's strong. He's quick. He's direct. Um, his shooting and finishing is sometimes often woeful. He's on a lot of money. He's on over £100,000 a week, and there was these rumours of him going in January and stuff, and I didn't really like that. He should have just. Yeah, I know he's got his podcast with Callum Wilson. He speaks quite openly on there. He was talking about leaving, and it's probably the right time. You know, in the summer again, maybe it's time for a change. Bring in. Well, we've already got Skamaka and Ings, which we talk about. What's happened with Antonio? Maybe he's 30, almost 33. Maybe ages catching up with him. I'm not. I don't. He's been a great servant for West Ham. I mean, he was bought in from Nottingham Forest for 7 million in 2015. What we've got out of him since then, he was playing right back at one point. He was he's been on the wing. He was on the wing at first, then he went right back, then he was a striker. He goes all over the place, and he scored. He's our highest Premier League goal scorer of all time. So that's pretty good, which is with 57 goals or something ridiculously low like that. But he's kind of just this season, he hasn't been anywhere near. But that's not just Antonio. This season, a lot of West Ham players have been way, way, way below the standards that we were at the last 2 seasons. Jared Bowen, Aaron Cresswell, even Rice has been good this season, but not as good as he had. Souček has just completely gone. Soufal, the last few games, has kind of picked it up a little bit, but nowhere near as the high levels that he was at before. So when you would put all of that collectively together, all of those players losing form and Moyes refusing to drop them for a long, long time and not let fresh faces like Flynn Downs come in. Ben Rama, he doesn't really like, but Ben Rama last few games hasn't been good. But if you were to look at the whole season, he's probably been our best player. All of those things coupled together, all of those players losing form, Moyes' stubbornness has kind of really seen us. Where are we? 16th compared to where we were this time last season, fighting for Champions League. So, yeah, it's not good, mate. It's not good.
Yeah. Now that I have a moment, hopefully, before they start drilling again, let's talk about your 2 best players, who I would be surprised if you can keep. I think, Bowen and Rice. Rice, I think you've had to kind of accept that he will leave. He could have left in the summer. You somehow kept him. Again, this 100 million price tag, which the more you see it in the transfer market, the more you think, okay, well, someone like Declan Rice will be 100 million, depending on how many years of his contract is left. But he's probably going to leave. Bowen, you do well to keep him as well. He's your top scorer at the moment. But yeah, how would you say? I don't want to say you rely on him this season. I definitely think you are.
Rice is a special player. He's. I haven't seen anyone do what he does at West Ham in all my years of watching West Ham. He's he's so strong. He's even quicker than a lot of people give him credit for. His interceptions, his tackles, he hasn't this season since Noble left. It's been a big loss for us because even though he wasn't playing, Noble was a big character, and Rice, as incredible as he is, I don't see him as a big leader. I thought he was, but he's not a big leader. I think if we give the armband to someone else, it'd take a lot of pressure off of Rice. But what he does which is I love watching him do. He'll pick up the ball around he'll pick up the ball around in our half, and he can carry the ball whilst taking it past 2-3 players to the opposition box. Like he'll do that quite often. It's incredible to watch. He's great with dribbling the ball. He's just West Ham fans love him. There are a few things this season during the World Cup. He come out and said he kind of making noises that he wants to leave, which is fair enough. We all know he's going. It's an accepted thing. West Ham fans. We know that he's leaving. And we wish him well wherever. Well, I hope there are a few clubs that I hope he doesn't go to, but he might do. But it is what it is. You can't really help it. But he's an incredible player, and we are going to be it's going to be very, very difficult to find. Well, we can't find a replacement that does what he does. He hasn't hit the levels this season, I feel, that he has before, but he's in England. He starts for England for a reason. His stats are always up there with the best in the league. So defensive midfield, I don't think there are many, if any, better at what he does in the world. Anywhere in world football, I think he's that good. People say Kante, maybe this Fernandes, the guy is just the right. Casemiro, very, very good, but Rice is up there with the best in the world. Bowen, Bowen this season has been disappointing for a lot of the. I just watched a preview of my favourite West Ham channel, Hammers Chat, are really good. I just watched a preview, and they actually in their predicted team, they predicted they actually wanted to drop Bowen for this game and for change up the formation and put Ings and Skamaka up front. And I wouldn't be. He hasn't been great this season. He really hasn't. I know he's our top scorer, but few of those have come in Europe against kind of, you wouldn't say very good teams, really minnows. And he has scored 4 in the league. He scored 2 against Everton, but compared to the numbers he was again hitting last season for goals and assists, nowhere near as good. He's been anonymous in a lot of games this season, Bowen, and you say we do well to keep hold of him. I don't see a club coming in and paying that much money for him. I think this season, maybe it's just maybe he'll be back to his best next season, but we'll see. But he hasn't been anywhere. Last season he was incredible. He was cutting inside, scoring a lot of goals. But this season he hasn't been anywhere near as the levels as he was. So we'll see how if he can get 4 or 5 goals between now and the league and in the league between now and the end of the season, kind of help us stay in the league, then great. But Bowen hasn't had a good season.
Do you think Bowen deserved a World Cup spot? That's
a good question. Do I think Jarrod Bowen deserved the World Cup spot? Yes and no. I wouldn't. It would have been kind of, who did he take? Rashford. I kind of was a little bit unjustified with the Rashford one, because I know Rashford, what he's done this season. Yeah, now, but after last season he didn't really do anything. Yeah.
Before the World Cup, Rashford was,
Yeah.
He wasn't.
So I could understand that he didn't go, but then the World Cup was in November, wasn't it? No, yeah. I knew Bowen wasn't going to go because he didn't start the season very well. So no, I don't. No, he wasn't getting in.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to Kane. Obviously, need I say anything about Kane? But I feel like this season he's really been overshadowed by Haaland. I think Kane is having one of his best seasons. Like the way he's scoring these goals have been insane, and what he's contributing. A bit different to before when he was also, giving a lot of assists. I think that's also partly because Sonny is just not on it. But we've really relied on him this season. How do you view Harry Kane?
Harry Kane. I'll be honest, and West Ham fans, I don't know if they share my.
They won't be watching.
Some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them do, some of them don't. I can't help but like Harry Kane. Even though he plays for Spurs and he scored so many goals against us, you have to appreciate what kind of a player he is. And I actually think, forget the goals, he's probably going to score. He's probably going to beat Shearer's record. I don't know if Haaland will, because Haaland probably not going to be in the Premier League for that long, I would imagine. Kane, I think, will, but his creative play is like he's one of the best creators in the league, as well as being one of the best goal scorers. He's an unbelievable player. His link up with Son, is unbelievable. That sort kind of when he gets the ball on the turn and creates from there. There's not many, if any, again, better at doing what he does in the world than him. Look, you can say like striker, like Lewandowski is up there with him. Lukaku's well now Haaland, I mean, but I'd actually say Kane's. I know I could get people would roast me for saying it, but I'd say Kane is a better all-round player than Haaland.
And Haaland, yeah,
I would say
at the moment
I would say, because Kane can create, and Haaland kind of. There's a big argument from Man City. There's some rumblings from Man City fans, kind of saying that they're a better team without Haaland. I've heard that a few times this season, than saying that they're actually a better team without Haaland, because Haaland trying to changes the way they play and everything goes through him. Okay. But Kane, Kane's a special player. So the answer, I like Harry Kane. The England penalty. I knew he was going to miss that. I was watching it in Chiang Mai in Thailand, and I knew. Yeah, I just knew. I couldn't even watch. The first one, goal, great. Yeah, and I thought, two, is he going to buckle this time? Because it's England, isn't it? And I didn't like the hate that he got, because it's I didn't like the hate that Rashford, Saka, and Sancho got, and I didn't like the hate that Kane got, because they don't step up meaning to miss. They just miss. They don't. So no, he's a winner. I know he hasn't won. Again, I'm not taking the mickey, but he wins games on his own. He's a winner. He wins games on his own. So very good player.
There's far too many times that we have relied on him, and he's won us points. Let's go to head-to-head results. Let's go straight into this thing that I've prepared here. So here we show the games that we had last season. I think you said you went to that game where you won 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
I was there. Yeah, I was at the Spurs. I was at that. It was great. it was fantastic. Right. I loved it.
Do you remember that season when we were like pretty much pushing to win the league, and then we went away to West Ham and we lost?
I do seem to recall that. Yes, it does. It does sit in my memory very well. Antonio scored that goal, and Antonio scored last season when we won 1-0. He's got a very good scoring record against Spurs, actually. So I'd be inclined to. So I'd be inclined to start Antonio on Sunday. I was at that game. Yeah, it was quite a boring game, to be honest. That 1-0 game last season at West Ham. It was great day. It was an early kickoff, I think. It was an early kickoff. It was a Sunday. We were good, but we were flying at the time. We were absolutely flying. You had Nuno, and he wasn't great. He wasn't great at all. Nuno Espirito.
No wonder we lost.
Exactly.
If we see our other matches against you, obviously we have that 1-0 lost, but you can see as well in the last 5 league games against you, we have 3 away games where we haven't won any of them, and we have 2 home games where, need I remind you, because of course you remember in 2020 when we were 3-0 up and then you came back. That was an insane. I'm kind of glad that the fans weren't there, because the West Ham fans would have gone absolutely crazy,
bonkers.
It just would have made it feel worse. But you can see there that it hasn't been easy for Spurs. West Ham have been giving us, apart from when we won 3-1, I think we were pretty much in control of that game. But everything else, we've been struggling. Now, this one is at home. Do you think that you can come and take the game to us, or do you think that we could probably control?
I think that our recent record against you hasn't been too shabby, actually. But I think that we will have quite a lot of the ball because a Conte team is happy to give you the ball. They're happy to concede possession and hit you on the counter, um, and take their chances. I do think we will have. Well, Moyes doesn't. He's not afraid to let other teams have the ball either. So I do think we'll have our fair share of possession. Take the game to you. I think we'll probably be cautious because every time we play these teams, especially away actually way more so than at home, we curl up in a ball. Moyes' record against the big sides away is absolutely dreadful in his whole career. I think there's a stat he's played Arsenal, Liverpool, as a team, as a manager, over his whole career. Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, in the league, and Chelsea. He's played them away 71 games as a manager, and he hasn't won one. His record against the big teams away is he curls up in a ball, and we're very defensive. We try and nick a goal, and it doesn't usually seem to work, apart from that 3-3 game where we got three. But I think it will be a quite an even, cagey game. To be honest, I don't see. I think it. I think I can see a draw. I don't think what Harry said 0-0, but I think maybe 1-1. Even, cagey game.
Yeah, I can definitely see a one. For us, I think we need to control the game somehow if we can. Probably not the way we've been playing, but we need to somehow control our game. Is Areola your number one, by the way?
No, he's been injured actually, but he's number two. Fabianski's number one. There's a lot of calls for him to be.
Because Hugo Lloris is also injured for a few months. So we both have a goalkeeper out. You got Scamacca probably might not play. Zuma might not play. Cornet won't be playing. We have Bissouma and Sessegnon out.
The injuries for us. Paqueta's probably out. Scamacca may be back. Zuma probably will be out. Aguerd might be able to play, which would be huge for us because he's been amazing since he's come in. Cornet, I mean, he's just gone. We don't even know what's wrong with him. He's just hasn't played for 4 months. He's typical West Ham. We got him for 17 million. It's quite a lot of money for us, and he has not. Well, last we heard, he was in France. So he's missing in action. We don't know where he's at, but we really could do with some pace in the team. So he'd be great, but he's nowhere. We don't know where he is.
Yeah, I do rate him. But it's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, he's a good player, and I think for you guys, Basuma's out, is he? Because he hasn't really been given a fair chance either. I think
he hasn't. But then when he has played, he hasn't. When he was at Brighton, he was linked with Arsenal, Chelsea. We managed to sign him and hasn't quite been. It's a bit like Richarlison, really. He hasn't quite been the same superstar player that he was at his previous team. But if you look at our last 5 results just in the league, you can see that we are not doing well. And actually, I don't even feel like that is that bad for us. 2 wins. Because I feel like every game we either deserve to lose or we just haven't played well. And the next game we beat City. We played very well, and classic Spurs fashion, we lose the next game. Well, we didn't lose. We got battered by Leicester, not just by the scoreline. But we just really could not get shots on target.
No.
And to be honest, you guys, you can see there, you only have one loss in the last 5 games, which is not too shabby. And your last 2 were against Chelsea and Newcastle, both matches that Spurs could have easily, and Spurs did this season, lose to Newcastle as well. So I think this would be an interesting game. Obviously, the whole cup final, West Ham Cup final, I think we'll be very up for it. But we did mention Bowen is your top scorer, and Scamacca might be missing. So obviously,
is this just in the league? Is this just in the league?
Yeah, this is just in the league. Yeah, just in the league. But Ben Rama, who I rated when he was at Brentford, and then you signed him, and I was like, okay, this guy seems really good. I still feel like he has a lot to offer. Do you feel that?
Yes, I do. He's Ben Rama's quite hot and cold. He's quite hot and cold, and I get frustrated sometimes with his decision making. He's a skillful player. He's good to watch. He likes to take a player on. But I do get frustrated with his decision making in the final third. He picked the wrong pass, or he'll blast one over when someone's in space or something like that. He is quite frustrating to watch. A lot of West Ham fans. He's quite like Marmite, actually. He's quite divisive, Ben Rama.
Okay.
I'm not too big on him. I think he's okay. Again, Bowen. You can see. Look at the numbers. Look, 4 for Bowen, 3 for Ben Rama, 3 for Skamaka. That's not enough compared to where the numbers we were hitting last season. Antonio has been completely off of it. And then you've got Kane sitting there on 17. It's like, he's a machine. So it's not good. We need more. He's brought Ings in, but I don't see where Ings fits into Moyes' system. It doesn't seem like a Moyes kind of player. So he needs someone to play up front with him to get the best out of him. And Moyes doesn't play 2 up front. So I don't know who's signed Ings or who's kind of signed it off. I don't know. But that seems to be a little bit. I like Danny Ings as a player. I think he's great. But how we're gonna fit him into our system? I kind of can't see how we do. So I don't know. I mean, right now, I'd take a draw. I think it might be a draw. I think and a draw actually doesn't help us that much. We drew against Newcastle, drew against Chelsea. Yeah, great, but draws where we are in the league, they're not enough. We need to kind of start picking up unexpected wins. A couple of unexpected wins would be great, like in this game, or to help us to try and climb up the league, because where we're at in the league, other teams around us, Leicester, Forest, they've started to pick up results, and it's worrying. It's worrying.
Yeah, you definitely. This is another aspect about this match, is you really, every time we face a team where they're close to the relegation zone and they seriously need points, that's extra motivation for them. And I feel like we don't do well against teams that, they need points and they turn up wanting the points more than us. I think far too many times. Maybe psychological, I'm not sure, us bottling it and everything. There might be a psychological problem with us that we keep even matches where we seemingly, should be winning. It's not surprising to see us not win if the team clearly wants the points more than us. But what is your prediction for this game?
I think I gave it away, didn't I? I predict 1-1, draw, 1-1 draw.
Scorers?
Yeah. Kane and West Ham scorer. I'm gonna go with who's going to score for West? Who can I see scoring at the weekend? It's who's going to play. See, we don't know who's going to play for us. I'll probably go with. Let's go Rice. Let's go Rice.
Rice. Okay, that's that's an unexpected one. You sure it's not Ogbonna?
Yeah. Nah, I don't know if he's going to play. He might play. Now I'll change it from Rice. Sorry, Gabriel. I'll change it from Rice. Let's go Antonio, because he's got a good scoring record against Spurs. Antonio.
Okay, yeah, I definitely see that. Antonio. Yeah, we have that chant for Conte. Antonio.
Yeah, I know. I saw it.
It'd be funny if we sing it and then Antonio thinks it's for him for some reason. But it will be interesting. We both play a 3-4-2-1. I just want to ask you, do you think Moyes will play Rice and Paqueta or Rice and Souček?
Well, if Paqueta's fit, it'll be Rice and Paqueta, but he's not going to be fit for this game, I think. So it will unfortunately probably be Rice and Souček, but I'd play Flynn Downs. Every time he's come on, he's looked great. He's looked really, really good. Every time he's played, he's really, really played well. So he offers more. He's better on the ball than Thomas Souček, and he can probably do what Thomas Souček does as well. He can clean up play, put out fires, win the ball. So I'd play Flynn Downs, but Moyes probably won't. It will probably be Souček and Rice, unfortunately.
Yeah. Souček was like every week last season, I was like, no, I'm not going to put him in my fantasy team because, he's going to stop scoring, but he just kept scoring, and it just annoyed me so much.
Yeah, he doesn't do that anymore because he doesn't get forward as much. Moyes has put him use him as a DM, and Rice gets forward more. So that's what's
right.
I think his goals have kind of dried up.
My prediction for this game is, I want to say 3-1, but the way we've been playing, it's more leaning towards 2-1, and it's because it's at home as well. I'd probably go for a 1-1 if we were playing away. But yeah, it really depends. Like with Spurs, probably just like West Ham, you don't really know what kind of team is going to turn up, how badly they're going to want it. It's very difficult to predict, really. But speaking of predictions, let me show you. Oh, great time for drilling. Let me show you. I'm gonna have a word. Let me show you Spurs fans' predictions for this game from Brazil and Korea.
My prediction is Spurs 3, West Ham 1. Vamos lá, Spurs!
Hello, Spurs Korea, Junior to Spurs, Tottenham fighting!
All right, there you have it there. So you can see we are looking for a win. And yeah, do you disagree with these predictions? I know you want a West Ham draw, but if you lose, would you be surprised?
No, I'm not confident. I'm not confident. I'm optimistic, but I'm not confident because of where we are in the league and how we've been this season.
Yeah.
So no, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we lost. But
if you want to be fair, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I'm a little bit optimistic than I was a couple of weeks ago. The draw against Chelsea where we played well second half, draw against Newcastle where we played really well in parts, could have won that game. Beat Everton. So 5-3 Spurs. I mean, yeah, I'd be very surprised with that one, but because West Ham and Spurs, West Ham can't really score that well. We don't score 3 goals, and Moyes. That's the one thing about Moyes. We don't ship lots of goals. We don't ship we don't concede. We wouldn't concede 5 or 4 in a game. Well, say that it might come back to bite me, but we don't usually concede those kind of numbers in games. But I would be no, mate. The answer to your question is no. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 2-3-1 Spurs. No.
Our friend from Malaysia says 5-3 Spurs. I mean, I wouldn't like to concede 3 goals, but I would take scoring 5 goals. Maybe Sonny can, get some goals in there. But yeah, I think that's all we have time for. Bang on the 1 hour.
On the money, on the hour.
Pleasure. And
Pleasure's all mine,
next time
mate.
we play West Ham, I'll be happy to do this again. I'd love to do this again with you.
Brilliant.
And
I've loved it.
Yeah, and come on, you Spurs.
Yeah.
Do you want to give us a little?
Yeah. No, thanks for having me on, mate. I've really appreciated it.
Pleasure. All right.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you to Josh, everyone, and everyone for watching. We will see you next time. See you guys.
No worries. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.